Greetings, I'm Sami Laakso from Snowdale Design and I welcome you to the Gamefound ending celebration stream. And this is the ending stream for the first expansion for Lands of Galzyr, named Dreams and Mysteries. So welcome everyone to the stream, and well, let's see what we are going to do in this stream. One of the things is, of course, we are going to be looking at the campaign page, keeping track of how many of you are here. Currently we have 3,103 backers, which is our all-time record. The last record was being held by Dale of Merchants 3, and that was quite a few years ago, and that was 2,850 backers. So we have over 250 backers more compared to Dale of Merchants 3. Welcome to the stream, Yikama. Nice to have you here. And some of the things I wanted to go through in the stream is that our current status of the game, or the expansion, how it's looking like right now, and what's the timeline. When you should be able to expect the pledge manager, late pledge, what's the current status of the expansion, like development wise, etc. So, and I also have some fun little prototypes here that I can show of the expansion, as well as the base game. If we want, we can even look at some of the really old ones. We have already looked at these once in the past in the base game's campaign, but there might be a lot of new people who have not seen this. So we might take a look at that as well. But let's start with a rough timeline. And with that, roughly 1 month from today, so probably in early November, we are going to open the late pledges. During that time, you can still, of course, follow the campaign and subscribe to our newsletter if you want to keep up to date of what's coming up in the future. But roughly 1 month, we are going to open the late pledge. And that's when, if you did not back during the campaign, you can then, as the name implies, you can late pledge during that time, and it will be open for multiple months. And then as for the pledge manager, which is a bit, the names are really similar, but that's just what Gamefound is currently using. As for that, we are probably going to wait until next year for that. Even during late pledge, you can still, if you back the campaign, you can add your pledge, but you are not able to add your address, and you can't pay for shipping yet. And you can do that during the pledge manager, which will happen next year, because then it's closer to the fulfillment date, which means that you're less likely to change your shipping address. As if the earlier we ask for the addresses, the more changes there can be, and the more common it can be for people to forget to update their addresses. So we will do that a little bit later next year. But no worries, we are going to post a single update from going forward every month. So you can expect new information on status of the expansion and what you need to do on monthly basis. Right now we have sent a few updates per week during the active campaign, but then after this we will concentrate on actually finishing the expansion and working on it and keeping you up to date every month. It will be on the first few days of the month. More information about that also in today's update right after the campaign ends. That's the timeline thing done, and then I thought I could show a little bit of the prototypes and also behind the scenes look at some of the feedback that we gathered from people before we started doing the expansion or during the development and idea phase, and that might be quite interesting as well. So I've thought about sharing a little bit of this. So there was already a screenshot of this in the design diary, but I thought we could go a little bit deeper into this, and I can show what's going on in this huge graph. And if you have any questions about the expansion, about our games in general, the campaign, or what happens later, or anything at all, just ask in the YouTube chat, and I will do my best to answer them as we go. So in the survey we had some things we asked. You could rank how much you would like to see certain ideas. We'll get back to that later. We asked also how which adventures were your favorites. We asked what would you definitely not want to see in the expansion, any other thoughts you might have, and then the biggest one is that which is this huge graph, what would you like to see in the expansion in addition to these things we already had listed. So this is continuation of this one, and this is basically the opposite of that, what you specifically said you don't want to see in the expansion, and then there's just miscellaneous comments over here. So why not, we can start with this one. So here we had a list of things we asked, which we already either wanted to add in the expansion, or base game, for example, already had these. So we knew, or people already knew what we were talking about with these. Like we had plans on adding this stuff. So first of all, we asked how many short quests people would like to see, like just 1 or 2 part long, and that was well, the color coding goes from you don't want at all, just a little bit more like some, and then a lot down at the bottom. So the more bottom heavy the bars are, the more people wanted to see this in the expansion. So the overall consensus was that we should definitely add some 1 to 2 card long quests in the expansion. Some, not a whole lot, but some, and we will definitely do that. But then it's easier to see when you compare two, especially quite similar things to each other. Like here is the short quest, but then long quests, which are 3 or more cards long, and you definitely wanted a lot more of those. So you see how bottom heavy these bars are. So almost no one said that they don't want any of these, and and the majority wanted either some or a lot of those. So that's a clear sign of how people want long-term quests, and the adventure dreams are one of the main things we are going to deliver on this these long quests. It's one of the main things that's going to be in the expansion, are the long dreams, and I can show you an example of those here. So I have currently separated the expansion cards are basically here on this version right now. These are the base game cards are all here, and also the save slots. So here I have examples of those adventure dreams. I can show you. Let's see, for example, these ones. So this is a continuation of the starting quest of each adventure. So after the three-part quest that you play with the base game, you will be at some point from a specific event that's unique for this new expansion. You will be able to awaken your dream and then try to chase that dream and achieve it. For example, Keridai's dream is about discovery, and you will have multiple parts of that dream, so it will be very, very long. And in normal everyday quests, let's see if I have an example here. For example, Noko and Umi, the new characters, part 3, they simply say where you need to be in order to take the story scene. Like here you need to be in Arhin. But with these dream scenes, you need to be in a specific place, like Kerida needs to be at Tarivar, but she also needs to have 4 prestige. Or she might have to be in Rienstone and have a surprise tag or 10 gold. So there's prerequisites that you need to fulfill, or maybe specific skill marks even. So in addition to being very long, so you can play it for many games, they also have these kind of like hindrances, a little bit of intentional friction for you to conquer in order to play the scenes. So you hopefully have more sense of accomplishment when you complete those dreams. So that's one of the ways we are introducing these 3 card long quests. We will also do 3 cards or more long quests that anyone can do. You pick up from the notice board, but this is one of the main things, that every adventure, all 5 of them that are playable with the expansion, will have these long dreams to chase. Then we asked about long storylines, which only a specific adventure can play. So this was kind of like teasing, like, do you want, would you like the format of the dreams? And it's not quite as popular as long quests, but it's still very popular. And what it gives us new storytelling opportunities when we know which adventure is playing the story. Like with Keridai's dream, we know that Keridai is the adventure who's playing that specific scene, which lets us have a little bit more nuanced storytelling, or tell more about Keridai's wants and past, and etc. So we are definitely doing both of these. Let's not zoom in more. Then the next one, we asked if you would like some other character specific content, and if you had some ideas, you could write them down below in the freeform boxes. But this one was one of the least wanted one, maybe because it was too open-ended to ask, like, would you like to have more of this that we are not even telling you what it is? So we will have some of these as well, as for in a form of events that will happen to your specific adventure. And I should have an example of that one somewhere here as well. Here we will have these events that get shuffled at various points into the event deck, and as you can see, there's going to be a different story depending on whose turn it is. So this is usually not part of a long storyline, but it's going to be unique to your adventure. So Moore might meet someone who recognize him as the follower of White Fang, or maybe Gerida meets some of her old university student friends, etc., etc. So these are our way to give more character-specific content, where we again know who's having the story. Like we can have a unique story for Bumir, Moore, and each of the adventures. And here comes Kenji. Now we don't have a separate Kenji cam because I'm using that camera here to show off this stuff. Then this one was maybe one of the most wanted large, slow storylines that happen in the background, which anyone can play. And this is definitely something that we are going to introduce in the expansion. And well, from the name we already talked about dreams, and then we have the mysteries part of the actual name of the game, and that is one of the last storylines. Is the air of mystery falls upon Galzyr, and you can help a detective going through and investigating these mysteries. And I don't want to spoil those too much. If you watch some of the gameplay videos, we made 2 gameplay videos, one with Anton from Anton VS and another with Dennis from Sir Tekos channels. You can find both of those here on this YouTube channel on the live section. You will see more about that mystery, but if you want to go entirely blind, you don't need to watch those. But if you do want to get a little sneak peek, you can check out those gameplay videos later to learn more about the mysteries part. Let's take a look how we're doing. We currently have over 3,100 backers, which is again pretty amazing, as we have never had over 3,000 backers in any of our campaigns. So we'll see how high it will still climb. Maybe 3,200. That's my guesstimate. Maybe on the higher side, but we'll see. Still have 35 minutes left. The next one is location stories, like the ones that happen on the actual game board, temples, library, etc., etc. And people really want more of those as well. And the way we are going to do that is twofold. One of them is so big of a spoiler that I'm not going to even discuss it further, other than that there's going to be more location stories. But the other one I can tell without major spoilers is just that when you open the storybook after the expansion has been released, you will just toggle on the expansion if you own it. And if you toggle it on, all the old, well, I'm not sure if all of them, but a large portion of the old locations will have new stories applied to them. So if you have visited the temples multiple times, and then you do it after toggling on the expansion, there might be new stories happening in the old locations. You might meet new companions that come from the expansion. You might find new items from the expansion, etc., etc. So we are going to add new stuff to the old locations that way. So you can find old companions, new companions, old items, new items, everything. So we really try to integrate the expansion as tightly with the base game and as seamlessly as possible. Welcome to the stream, the Gaming Hall. They had a random question. I backed all in on Gamefound. Is there a way of paying extra shipping to get the currently available core game sooner? Just due to logistics, we don't have that available right now, but you still have time to remove the base game from your pledge and simply order it from our online store, in which case it will be shipped within a few days and should arrive in a week or even less sometimes. So that's my recommendation right now, but it's a good question, and I might still revisit it, as I had not thought about that before, but I will see what I can do, but I can't promise that we will offer 2-tiered shipping, as it just increases the logistics quite a lot. So if you want to be sure to get the base game sooner, you can still remove it from your pledge and go to our online store, snowdaledesign.fi, and then you can go that way. They pledge via PayPal, and got too bit excited to back. Yeah, sorry. If we don't offer the 2-tier shipping, you can still send me a message via email or just from the comment or on our Discord, for example, and I can refund you for the portion of the base game, and then you can order that, and or even just I give you credit to an online store if you can't wait for the base game. So we can handle that in some way to get it to you sooner. Then we asked about the temporary local status stories. There's some like circus, forest fire, some that can happen in different places, and the card goes to the place where it happens. It doesn't always go to the specific location, like Jetsten's temples is always in Jetsten, but the circus might be anywhere. So people wanted more of those, and we will try to come up with some fun ones to add in the expansion as well. We asked if you would be interested in alternate game end stories, and well, a large portion of you did want more of those, and that's one of the things that we definitely want to do and will do with the expansion, is that because once you have played through the specific number of days in the game, you will be asked to take a game ending scene called The Gathering, and this has a lot of variety already inside it, but it's still always you go to the tavern and stuff happens in the tavern. So even while it has a lot of variety already built in, it can still feel a bit samey after you have played many times. So we are going to add new options in the final scenes. It might be, do you want to do X or visit the tavern? So you would have the option to go to the tavern, but if you don't feel like it at the end of that game, you could do something else, and the something else could vary between months. So we are still pondering on, like, stewing on different ideas how we do it, but we will definitely do it, and we might even do that in a way that you don't need the expansion, that it will always have more variety in it. But that would mean that we can't use expansion cards in it, but we'll see what we will do with that. But it's one of the things that we would probably want to address even if you don't have the base game. A lot of people want more events. We will do more of those as well, and we have, of course, as I already did show, we are going to have new event cards in the expansion, but we are also going to have, similar to the locations, new stories happening in old scene numbers. So you might draw a base game event, and you could still meet an expansion companion in that event, because the storybook knows when you have the expansion and when you don't have the expansion, and that way we can use the same small event deck, because for game design purposes and balancing purposes, we don't want to make the event deck too big, because if we do it, make it a huge one, then it will be slower to get to the specific ones when we add new stories to the event deck. So it needs to be quite slim, so in order to new cards that get added there also get removed there quite fast instead of after 5 games. So there's a sweet spot on the size of the event deck, and we figured out how to add to the variety of the events without making the deck bigger. And that's like, we're just going to use the old numbers, but depending on month, depending on day, you will sometimes have an expansion story from a base game event card. And the next one is items. Quite straightforward. Most people want at least some new items, and there will be some new items. Same goes with companions. And then we get to the 3 last ones that if we look at the majority of people, you still want these 3 last ones, which being adventure statuses, achievements, and new mechanisms. But we can also see that these have the biggest red bars out of all of these. So these were the most divisive, or like, even if not divisive is the correct word, but people were most neutral about, like, okay, we can live without this. But we can still see that the lower, the bottommost bar of all of these is still at least like 20%, 25% even sometimes, which means that some people want a lot of this. So, but the good thing about these 3 last ones is that we can add some of these without using a lot of cards, and also without a lot of development time from our end. So we can offer some of these to those who want them, but we can still use most of our time developing the stuff that even more people wanted. So the expansion will have some new adventure statuses, like for those unfamiliar with the base game, is like if you are wounded, if you are inner fire, like your mental or physical status, which might give you benefits or penalties on skill checks. Then we have the achievements, which is basically a paper sheet. So the base game comes with this achievement sheet that you can use to keep track of different achievements that you can find and unlock mostly in the storybook. And with the expansion, it will come with another sheet, so it will have half of the achievements added, and it's quite different color. And now my cat is trying to sabotage the stream by playing with the lights. When it's later, he will just sleep, but now he's earlier and he's more active, and he wants to do a little bit of mischievous tricks. Yeah. But yes, the expansion will come with more achievements, and this is one of the easiest things to basically ignore if you don't mind, if you don't care about these too much. You can just not cross them off once whenever the storybook says, or you don't need to try to search for these. Some of these are quite well hidden. And the last one was new mechanisms, and if you wanted these, we asked, can you please say what those would be? And most people or not most people either didn't want at all or just a little bit the red and the orange bars. So a good portion, over half, would be happy with either no new mechanisms or just a few ones. And what we ended up doing is there's basically 2 new rules which are super fast to tell. Like if you have multiple special abilities, just use one per game, and also a new way to travel if you play cooperatively. So we have 2 very simple rules, but we do plan to have new kind of like gimmicks or fun little surprises and twists in the storybook. So you don't need to have read new rules to be able to enjoy those new interactions in the storybook. So that's how we are tackling that. We can take a look how we're doing right now. 3,111 backers. We can refresh because sometimes it's not quite correct. This time it was. And this one is quite fast. We asked what you would definitely not want to see in the expansion if there's something like that. Here's one. These are bundled roughly together about what if multiple people gave a similar answer, and one of them is didn't want a long campaign and didn't want a proper ending. They didn't want the game to end, and this is something already in the base game that it's an open world that you can explore as little or as much as you want. So while this mystery is, for example, quite long, it's still on the background and you don't need to take part on it if you don't want. Same as for your dreams, your adventurer might have a dream, but you don't even have to do it if you want. So they're quite unconventional long stories. Like we wanted to stay true to the vision we have for Galzyr and didn't want to change it too much, as the expansion is designed mostly for those who already like the base game. So while some people did say they don't want any of these, we try to incorporate a little bit of this, but in a way that even most Galzyr fans should appreciate, as there were quite a lot of people who wanted especially long stories. People were happy with how long the game is. They didn't want it to be longer or shorter, and we don't see a reason to really change that. It's short enough that usually that's not a problem, like, oh, I don't want to play Galzyr because it's too long. And we prefer it to be too short because then you can play multiple games, and that's the same as having longer ones, so you can choose how long you want to play it at one sitting. These were some quite funny ones, like someone said they don't want fewer penguins, so they want the penguin quota to be at least the same as in the base game. Then we had all of these are more or less like no new mechanisms, no new complicated mechanisms. So that's quite, like, in addition to answering to it in the question here, like just toggling how much you want, a lot of people still wanted to separately say they do not want Galzyr to become more complicated, and we agree with that. Here's fun bunch. Nothing. This is doesn't mean they don't want anything. It's just like they trust us and they just want more of whatever we are going to do. Some people said they don't want the game to be too expensive, and then there was a big pile of miscellaneous stuff. We can take a look at this, but Yikama had a question. Sorry if you already said before, but will there be a way to choose to have a long or a short game rather than the one campaign option? So Yes and no. So one game is a specific length, and depending on how many players you have, it's a different amount of days, but it will roughly fall between 1 and 2.5 hours, depending on how many players are playing. Solo game being the fastest and 4 players being the longest one. And then after your session, you will save the game by resolving all the save effects, and then the storybook will ask, would you like to play a game immediately, another game immediately or later. If you choose immediately, it will go through a super quick setup, less than 5 minutes for the saving and quick setup, and then you can just play a new game. Or if you choose to play later, storybook will instruct you to put cards in the save slots in the game box in a specific way, and then you can continue later. So the game always continues to the from one to the next in one way or another, but and that's the way you can adjust how long a single session if you want to play multiple games, or put it in the shelf and come back to it after 1 month, 1 week, 1 month, or how long it might be. Gigama says, I guess I would like longer solo player options rather than 8 days. But the reason why we don't want to increase the 8-day length for solo play is, well, two answers. One is that, well, the prestige scaling in the last scene would go out of balance if you play longer, and the other one is that the new and old stories sometimes rely on a month advancing. So the story requires for next month to happen before it can move on. That's a way for us to pace some of the stories and not make them feel too rushed, and give you a breathing room to do your own stuff. But then, oh, here's this one thing, do you want to do this? And then again you can do that, but then again breathing room for you, and the next month, would you like to do this in addition to your open world stuff? So for the pacing of different stories, we have found out that the 8 days is nice, and if it's too short, you can just play multiple 8-day sessions, and that's what we have heard many solo players do, like, oh, let's just play another one, and yeah, it makes the board flip at some point from summer to winter, etc. So it gives a sense of progression through time as well. So that's why we like the shorter length, because then you can just play multiples, and the pacing of the stories and mechanisms on the background can move forward. So hopefully that will satisfy your needs. And back to this graph. Well, first, welcome to the stream, Aaron Manier. Congratulations on the campaign. For new players, would you suggest integrating the expansion right away or after a few games? It's been designed to work just as fine immediately or after a few games or after a bunch of games. You put it in the box, the cards go in specific places, and after that Galzyr is just literally deeper and not necessarily bigger, because the map will stay the same, but there's more variety everywhere, and you can just do it right away, and then the game doesn't pull your attention like, this is expansion content, this is base game content. It's just, everything is just together one huge pile of open world sandboxy fun that you can explore and go do what you want. And the expansion doesn't make the game more difficult to play. It's just as streamlined, just as easy to get into, because it integrates so, like, on a lower level to the base game, that it's very, very hard to kind of take away from the base game. If you wanted for a single game, for it would be very, very clunky. So we didn't want there to be a reason for you to want to take it away. So you just put it in the base game, and then you forget that you even did it. Like, okay, now there's more stuff, more variety in Galzyr, and that's it. well, then we can hopefully get back to this graph. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Galzyr is quite unorthodox adventure game compared to many others in the market, where you have a really specific story that you just follow through, and once you're done, and things of that nature. Or some of the more open games are still like there's no saving system. You just play and then you put everything back and you start again fresh, and then you can choose another path to take, but then everything resets again. So it's quite a different take, and there's not too many similar ones. So this graph here, we have the miscellaneous ideas from people. Like if it's not one of these that we listed, just go ahead, tell us what you want. And we first we organize these in these like circles of areas. Like these are ideas relating to adventures. These are ideas related to quests and items. And you can see that they overlap. So if something is about items and adventures, we put it here. So we just organize this huge pile of sticky notes with all the ideas to see like where are the big bunches and what people really want the most, etc., etc. Like there weren't too many people saying anything about events. There are not too many about statuses. And then after that, we went through each of these notes and color coded them based on how likely it is that we can put this in the expansion in one way or another. Green is pretty much like it's going to be there as you wanted it to be. Like you ask for this, you're going to get exactly that. The opposite is red. There's some reason we don't think it's a good fit for Galzyr, and we just or it would be too fiddly or whatever of the many reasons there could be. It's not going to be in the expansion. And then the yellow one is in the middle. It might be, it might not be. It might be, but in a little bit different light than how it was phrased. Like we give it the Galzyr twist on like, you want this, but the game is not anymore what it was with the base game. If we do that, then that would alienate people who like the base game. So we are trying to give you, or we are trying to think what you want, and maybe we don't deliver it in the way you expected, but hopefully you will be satisfied anyway. So you can see that most of the sticky notes are green or yellow. So most of them we either put there, or we hopefully can adjust the idea a little bit and put it there then. So you can take some examples like companions. People like just more companions. Okay, we're going to put more companions. Then there's overlap between progress between games. That's one of the big ones, like almost in the middle. A lot of ideas are about progress between games, but not just about that, because that's in itself, it's kind of vague. Like how do you success something that's about progress between games, but it has nothing to do with adventures or the map or the quests or companions. So there's a lot of overlap with the progress between games. And some of the bunches we have here with adventures, people wanted character progression, and we are not going to do the classic you get strong, you start weak, you get stronger kind of thing, as that was not in the base game, and we feel like that's too big of a step away from the base game, that it might make some people like the game more, but at the same time we think that those people are not going to get the, if they were disappointed in the base game because of character progression, it's not they have like already given up with the game, and they just said, oh, this would be better with this, and then they sell the game. And it's not like they're going to now rebuy it again with the expansion, as I usually, if I don't like a base game, I'm not hoping an expansion to fix it for me. If I like a base game, then I can invest in an expansion, hoping that I would like it even more. But if I dislike something, I'm not going to get an expansion hoping that it will fix something so fundamental. I just think that this game is just not for me, it's for others. So, but with the color you can see that we are doing some character progress, and that's part of the dreams. So you have a sense of character progress by going through that long story, and you will also unlock new special abilities during that story. So that's kind of like that. That's character progress, but maybe not exactly with the words that were written in this. Then we have the more power. This is even more the classic. This could also kind of overlap with the character progress, but we still try to separate. Like, this is just raw power. I want more power, become more powerful. That's not yellow. That's red, as that would just break the balance of the game. If done right, it might still work. Like, you could start weaker and then get stronger, and then your character could retire when they're done. But again, we think that that's a bit against Galzyr's spirit, where you just low, kind of low effort but low stress game where you can go have a little bit fun, immerse yourself in the story, not think too much of the consequences. Like, there might be consequences, but you can still always move on. So it's not going to have the traditional more power archetype. As we also believe there's a lot of games already that do that very nicely, so we don't need to try to do that with our game. We can try to do something a bit different. There's people want more adventures. We are going to deliver one with this expansion, and the second one, or the sixth one, however you want to see it, in the next one. Some ideas about quests, also like quests that would require 2 players, but that's a bit of a thing that we probably don't want to do, because based on our gameplay data, actually a huge portion, even like over half of all the games played, because we get this data from the digital storybook, are played solo. So if we were to make content that is exclusive to 2 or more players, then you would not be able to see that. Majority of our players would not be able to see that content because they're playing solo. And some of these are still yellow because we do have the partner mechanism, where if you are playing with multiple players, they can help you in quests. And we are making this easier with the expansion, with the new movement rules, where you can move at the same time instead of individually, which significantly easier makes it significantly easier to partner up for scenes. So it makes multiplayer games more enjoyable in that way. That's also part of the co-op over here. We have some items, we have events, we have some ideas about the map, but we can take we have 5 minutes. 5 minutes left, 3,112 backers, 4 minutes 44 seconds, almost in the end. Map expansion, this is one that I can talk a bit, as many people asked if there could be a bigger map, and as discussed earlier, we didn't want there to be a reason for you to want to take the expansion away or play without it. And we were planning to expand the map to be bigger, but there's too many downsides to that. Some of them being like the distances become very large, as the current map is designed with the current movement in mind. Like, you can move 2 spaces or a little bit more if you have a mount or some other special things. But if we make it bigger, the distances suddenly become quite large if we don't give you more ways to move faster. And if we give you more ways to move faster, then you can more easily move from quest to quest, skipping any events in the progress. And if you skip all events, then there's less sense of travel, and then less like a bit smaller sense of scale in the game. So we didn't want to compromise that. And extra map expansion would also make the map, well, literally bigger on the table, so the footprint of the game would increase, and it might be a reason, oh, we don't have space to play it. And we could play without the expansion. But if you would play without a map expansion, you might have in your save slot a quest that needs to be resolved in the new part of the map, and then you're like, oh, we are playing without the map, but I still have a quest for that, so it would complicate things a lot. So for us, it made more sense to deepen the current locations, to write more stories to the current places. So if you have, again, visited, for example, casino multiple times, and you go now with the expansion, there might be new stuff happening in the old place. So that made more sense for us in a way that we don't want to introduce reasons for you to not play the game, essentially. Welcome to stream, Esa. It's saying congratulations on the successful campaign. Great job. We need to get together to play again sometime. Some quest ideas. About seasons, we're going to do more about with those, so there's an even bigger sense of time. Like now it's winter, there's winter stuff happening. It's already built up upon that with the expansion. Then there's some ideas specifically about the digital storybook. Some wanted the physical book, and that's kind of unfeasible with the amount of stories we have. We will revisit this physical aspect after the second expansion, when we know all the stories that will be there are there right now. But if we made a storybook now, it would not have all the stories, because we are going to add more stories with the expansion. So if we ever do a physical storybook, it would probably not be a single book, because there's so many stories that it will be multiple. But if we do a physical release, that will be after the second expansion. Don't hold my word to that we will do it, but we will research if it would be anyway feasible, as probably most people would not want it, because, well, the price will be quite high for some, like 3 tomes of this size, for example. Like, who wants that? A few people, but can we justify the development cost of those? Can we justify the manufacturing cost? We're going to see that later. 23 seconds left. Welcome to stream, Bernadette Bauer. I'm hiding the seconds. 14 seconds is the final number 3113 or something else. I'm kind of always surprised that some people do, like, someone backed on the last second. Like, that's always something that I'm a little baffled. Like, I don't back on the last second, but that's just me. Let's put some fun little confetti. Bernard Power saying, super excited to play the game. Welcome to the stream, Bartek. Thank you for the congratulations, Gaming Hall. We managed to, well, 3,115 backers. So again, this is, we had our previous record was by Delmortis 3 with 2,850, and now we had 3,115. So we smashed the record by 265 backers. Now it's just back to work for us, so we can deliver deliver the expansion to you. I still have at least 30 minutes of stuff to show, even maybe 1 hour. We'll see how long you're interested in the stuff. But I still have stuff that we can go through and show a little bit of the prototypes and stuff. This was mostly done. Here's fun thing. We asked you to rank your favorite adventure. Let me know when the when the confetti gets too distracting. We asked how much you like the different adventures. You could say meh, kind of like neutral, no opinion, or maybe a slight dislike. If you like them, or if they're your favorite. And then we have this last one is a weighted total. This is basically this plus 50% of this, I think. So just to give an easier vision on how much you like different ones. So there were most meh votes for more, and there were most favorite votes for Aisala, and this was one of the reasons because we made the plushie, why we made the first plushie to be Aisala. This is the one of the reasons she's in the confetti right now. As we it made sense to start with one adventure, and then if people really like it, we can make more. But made sense, like, let's see which one is the favorite one, and let's make that one first, and then we can do others later if people like. But instead of just let's do all 4 and then no one wants them, and we waste a lot of time and resources in creating them. Aaron says, like the data-driven approach to design, have you used a similar process in previous design stages? We have used it basically when we have doing something for an older entry. With Peacemakers, we asked about things and searched the internet for comments and stuff a lot for people. What were their pain points in Dawn of Peacemakers, because we wanted to make that a better one. Now we are doing an expansion to a game already released, so we asked a lot of questions about people's opinions. We didn't ask them with the Lands of Galzyr base game, as it would, of course, we playtested it a lot and saw people's like reactions during that. I think we have celebrated enough. But when we have a new game, we have a solid vision ourselves, and then it would be harder to ask, like, do you want more of this or that in the game which you have not played yet? So it makes more sense for us when we are expanding a pre-existing game or series in some way. And we are doing now the same with Tale of Merchants. They will have the series will have a 10-year anniversary next year, and if you have played Tale of Merchants, you can find a link from our Discord server to a questionnaire, to a survey of the different decks in that. So we are doing some balancing with that for next year. So we are also seeking people's thoughts on that. Yukama is asking, you can ask how you come up with the name of your characters. One of the most used ways for us to come up with the names is to see where that particular animal would live in our world, and that's usually their species origin. Like, for example, snowy owls live at the northernmost parts of Europe, Asia, and America, and then that's like maybe their own countries there with other animal folks intermingling in the country as well. But then in the later parts of the like timeline in Dimyria, they have then moved to different places as well. But they have their origin culture is from that specific place on the map, and then we see what languages people speak there, and you take syllables from that language, and then we put those usually together, so it has a specific sound to it and familiarity with the names of the same animals. We don't do that with each and every individual, as of course they have born in different places, they have different cultures and stuff, but that's the main way. The most common way is to see where that animal comes from, what languages humans speak in that place, and then we put syllables together to create totally new names, or sometimes use old names from that language. And back to these favorites, Noko and Umi and Yame had the least amount of votes together, because you could just skip voting, obviously because they have not been released yet, so people don't have as much of an opinion on those for obvious reasons. So that's the most a quick glance of the feedback we got for base game and how we went through that to try to find a way to make the best expansion for you, because that's who we are doing the expansion for. And then I thought that we could take a look at some of the prototype stuff, at least for the expansion. I can show you a quick something about that. Let's mix all this. Put the cards away. So, for example, this is also a prototype, but this is from the actual factory. So this is the form factor the expansion will come, roughly speaking. We are still ironing out the details. For example, it will probably not have this tear down here, but more like a sticker closing this, or glue or something. We tried with this, but you can currently also open it without it, so I have not even destroyed this box. But this will be the size, and it's a comparison with the base game. So it's roughly the same size, a little bit shorter, and a lot narrower compared to that, as we made it as small as we can while fitting all the components inside it. We don't need to worry about good inserts or space for sleeves or anything, because all the content fits inside the base game box, even sleeved. So that's why we made this as slim and small as possible to cut down on the bigger the box, the more expensive it is to manufacture and also to ship. So we can lower the cost on all fronts by making it as small as possible. But it will weigh like almost half a kilo or something, if I remember correctly. So it will be packed full of stuff. This is the quick and dirty prototype I made before, to just see if the dimensions play nicely. So this is made just from paper, and let's see which way this is here. So inside there will be two punch boards. This represents one of them. This one of them, some papers. This represents those, and also a really simple insert, you could call it. But there will be this some quest tokens, skill marks, and the meeple. I didn't have the proper meeple. I just used the base game one to see if they fit nicely here. And then when you, as you open it more, and then there's the, let's take those away for now. It will just be four full decks that take all the space here. So this has been just the insert is there to make sure that the decks don't move inside during transit, and we couldn't make it this small, the box this narrow, as we had to have space for these ones, and this is you might recognize it's from Root. It's I got the updated playboard, so I don't need the old ones anymore, so I cut this to size. That's a sample here. This will host the adventure board. So the adventure board will be like here, and the gold spinner is here, and some other tokens. So this will be that one. There will be 4 new dividers, obviously with not those numbers, but rather the big ones, 350, 400, 450, as well as the save slot divider for Noko and Umi. But this was the way for me to see if the dimensions that I calculate on computer, if they were solid, and then we quickly did this one to see that everything fits inside nicely. And this represents the achievement sheet as well as the rules sheet that will come with the expansion. So this is the quick prototype with none of the final stuff other than dimensions, and then we have the nicer one later that came from the factory. So that's a quick look on some of the prototyping work that we do to make sure that the components fit and what makes sense in the size-wise, etc., etc. So, but it was an interesting, like a puzzle to solve, like what dimensions, how we pack them, because it's different when you don't need to consider players using the box later, as that adds so many wrinkles when you design a box that needs to hold all the components during shipping, so they don't get damaged, and then also hopefully a quick setup, easy tear down, keep everything in place while you travel with the game. If you should store it vertically, etc., etc. If you have add-ons, if you have sleeved cards, all of that, it's a lot quite painful. So it was refreshing to design just the box that does one few things, but just keep everything safe until you get it. It doesn't need to do everything else in addition to that. Did I have something else? I already told about those. I want to go quickly through the community quest. So just a quick recap of that one. Let's see, where's the first one was we like to do these community quests in our Lands of Galzyr campaigns. So in this one, with the expansion, it started with us asking just give us your favorite animals or ones that you would like to see in the expansion. And then we had, this was easily the the project update with most answers. So people just gave all their favorites in here. And then we took the ones that had most suggestions, and also those that had not been featured too much in the base game yet, and some few other parameters. And then we whittled down the selection to 10 different animals that you could vote here. And Red Panda was easily the the winner. The next one was Axolotl, which had less than or more than 100 less votes. And after that, we asked for story ideas. What should the Red Panda do in the expansion? And we got some really great and funny ideas here, which we again dwindled down this time to 8 quest ideas, which were over here. And then people could vote on these. And this time it was a really tight victory for Perfect Dumplings storyline. And then this next was I drew this picture on a stream during the campaign of the Red Panda eating the dumplings, and they will be a companion card. And in this project update, the one that went live during this stream, we asked you which name the character should have. These were names that were suggested during the stream where I drew him. So you can go and vote on these, and currently you can't even see the votes before you vote, and you can't vote unless you back the campaign. But we can still take a look on what are the results right now. But I do have to go to the admin area because I didn't back my own campaign, so I'm not allowed to vote on this one, which is kind of funny. Let's go to the polls. And here we go. The voting. What should be Red Panda's name, and currently the leading one is Tashi with 45 votes, Bamboo second, 33 votes, and Wonto and Dava with 8 and 9 votes respectively. So it's still possible that Bamboo could take the lead, but don't have high hopes for Wonto and Dava. We'll see which one of those wins. You have 1 week time to vote for this fellow's name. It might well end up being called Tashi. Bartek is saying Bamboo for the win. Yeah, it was definitely one of my... I think my favorites were Tashi and Bamboo, and Ville's favorite was Bamboo. But we thought that it would be fun way to end the campaign where you could vote for the name of the fellow. And yeah, that's in 1 week we are going to close it, and then we are going to see which name is on the lead at that point. And this is also a good point to show you this one. So as told earlier, every 1 month we are going to post a new project update, and from now on they will always include this graph that will show our current progress broken down to different categories. So you can see that with design and development we are already 80% there. So most of the game has already been designed, all the content, and you can see that the biggest chunk we still have left to do, outside of course manufacturing and shipping, is the content creation and story writing. So the systems are in place, we just need to finish up all the stories, and it's a huge amount of work we have got for us, but that's the main chunk we still need to finish. Of course we have some artwork still to be done, some cards in there, or not even some, but a lot of the cards in the expansion prototype are just empty. They don't have anything, instead of having a nice picture like this one here. So we are going to have to write all those, draw all those missing art pieces, but some of these we can't draw before we do the corresponding story, so we actually know what we want to draw on the cards. So they go kinda hand in hand. We have almost everything ready at the factory, so we just need to make the files, send to them, and then they can start printing, as it's pretty much all the components and stuff that are in the expansion are similar to those in the base game. The biggest thing that we still need to refine is the aforementioned game box. Like, do we want the tear of the top, and how do we want to close this? So that's one of the things we still figuring out. Like, will this have a plastic wrap on it or not? Maybe if we can get away without it, that would be great. But the thing about the plastic wrap on this, even though we don't necessarily need to protect the game box too much, it helps with the moisture levels, because you don't want it. It's annoying, as it would be more environmentally friendly to not have the plastic wrapping, but if that means that we'll get their games damaged, like with moisture and curving cards and stuff, then we lose any of that advantage by having to reship stuff multiple times. So we need to figure out if it can survive the shipping without the plastic wrap or not. So that's like the last 10% we need to do with that, and then, well, manufacturing happens once we are able to send all the files to them. We have a good pipeline with the fulfillment preparation, but the rest is basically once we know how many copies we're going to produce and which hubs we are going to send how many copies, then we will be able to move on with the fulfillment preparation, and shipping begins after the games are complete. We freight ship them to different warehouses from which they are then sent out to individual packers. So that's hopefully gives you a good idea where we are now, and we will keep you updated with this same graph with hopefully bigger percentage every month until the game or the expansion has been fully developed and also fulfilled. That should be quite a good look at the expansion and the campaign as a whole and where we are right now. And if you don't have any final questions, I think we can keep this unlike the other the gameplay and drawing streams, we can keep this a little bit shorter, but I want to take the chance to thank everyone for backing and making the Dreams and Mysteries expansion possible in the first place, and showing us that you really like Lands of Galzyr and you want to see more of that. And now we are going to go back to work, and we'll do everything we can to make it as great as possible, as well as deliver it to everyone in time, so you can have even more fun stories in the little world we have created. So again, thanks for watching, and if you want to get notified of upcoming streams or other videos we occasionally publish on here, you can subscribe to the channel. And if you come here later after the stream, you can also, if you had any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I get the chance. So thank you again for everyone joining and for backing the campaign, and hope to see you next time. Thank you and bye.